Hello, and welcome back to my channel. In May, I took a road trip out to the Midwest and visited 4 new amusement parks. Today, I'm going to talk about the second park I visited, Holiday World. Just like the Cedar Point review, this video will be split into 2 parts. First, I will review the park, broken up into a few categories: atmosphere and theming, operations, variety, ride collection and things to do, and situational and miscellaneous factors. Then I'll go through and rank the 4 coasters I rode here compared against each other. Holiday World honestly blew it out of the park when it comes to atmosphere and theming. I mean, it's right in the name. I didn't have much time to explore, which I'll get into more later, but the areas of the park that I did walk through were incredible. The Christmas area might have been the best theming I saw, with the music, fountain, and Bavarian marketplace vibe. The Halloween section was also really well themed. There's not much theming that can go with Thanksgiving, but the park made the most of what they had to work with. I didn't go into 4th of July or Splash and Safari, but based on what I'd seen and heard, those are great too. There's also just a fun atmosphere at the park. Part of it is definitely the fun holiday theme, but it also has the charm of a small park with the coaster collection of a major park. The staff, especially the ride ops, were super upbeat and enthusiastic, and it really made my time at the park that much better. Flipping the switch, the operations themselves were honestly pretty bad. All of the coasters were running with 2 trains, with the exception of Voyage because of a maintenance issue, but I was on the first ride of the day, so it didn't matter. And they were stacking every cycle. I understand that the rides aren't the longest, and that this park traditionally operates with only 2 on a train, versus 3 or 4 at other parks. However, I still don't think it should have taken this long. The biggest issues I had were with Raven, and especially Legend. I'm probably exaggerating this, but it felt like sometimes the ops didn't even start checking the train until the previous one had hit the brake run. With Legend especially, it took them almost 30 seconds from the time the attendants were done checking restraints and heading to their stations, to the time the ride was actually dispatched. Also, with those wooden coasters, there's no reason that checking a lap bar should take as long as it did. I didn't really notice slow ops as much with Thunderbird, Raven, or Voyage because I walked onto all 3 of those, but with Legend, I was waiting 25 minutes for what probably could have been 15. Back on a more positive note, let's get into variety and things to do. Holiday World is a small individual park. It is not a part of a chain or corporation, so of course, there's not as much to do here as there is at Cedar Point, Disney, or Universal. But I think they still have a good variation of things to do here. I count 49 rides on their website, 12 for kids, 23 family, and 14 thrill. There are 16 water rides and 5 coasters, 4 of which are extreme rides. There are 26 food locations, including sweet treats, quick serve, and the Thanksgiving meal. There are 6 shows listed on their website and 10 shops in the park. They've also got a bunch of press penny machines, which I definitely did not indulge in. Lastly, moving on to situational and miscellaneous things. One thing Holiday World does well that should definitely be seen in more parks is that they don't charge for parking. They have free drinks, not just water, but soda, iced tea, lemonade, and other soft drinks. They also have free sunscreen stations scattered throughout the park. Hydration and sun protection are 2 very important things, especially when visiting theme parks on long, hot summer days. And nobody should have to wait in line and hope they have enough money to buy an overpriced theme park water before they pass out, or opt to save money and get burnt instead of buying sunscreen. It was overcast when I went, but I definitely took advantage of having a drink in between each ride. I also didn't have a headache when I went. I feel like there were so many factors playing into that. It wasn't a long drive to the park from my hotel, so I wasn't in the car for long hours. It wasn't sunny, I was able to stay hydrated, and the lines weren't super long, so I wasn't rationing my drink in line. A downside would be that the park is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and while it worked out that I was able to hit it on this trip, that might not always be the case. These next 2 are both on me, but I only had half a day here because I was splitting the day between Holiday World and Kentucky Kingdom. I didn't feel rushed in the sense that I didn't think I'd be able to do everything in a day. I mean, I rode all 4 coasters in 2 hours. However, I didn't know what the crowds would look like at Kentucky Kingdom, so to be safe, I left Holiday World as soon as I was done with the 4 coasters. I would have loved to stay and get re-rides and explore more, but given the tight schedule I was running on, I wasn't able to. I also visited the week before Hollywood Nights. I would have loved to go to the actual event for night rides and a trimless Voyage, but it wasn't feasible for me. I realize that's not necessarily a flaw, and I'm so grateful to have been able to come here at all. I just wish I could have experienced the same rides on Voyage that my friends and other enthusiasts have enjoyed. Alright, now let's rank the 4 coasters I rode. Number 4, the Raven. Yes, this is at the bottom of my list, but that doesn't mean it was bad at all. It's the shortest, slowest, and, duration-wise, shortest of the 4, but still an amazing ride. I agree with everything I'd heard about this ride, that if it was in any other park, it would be their top coaster. But this ride has almost been done a disservice being in the same park as Legend and Voyage. I really like the first drop, how it's not banked, like on many wooden coasters. I like the laterals and airtime, the interaction with the lake and forest, and the last ejector hill before the brake run. It reminded me of the Rolling Thunder Hill in El Toro, but to a lesser extent. However, the ride was the roughest in the park. Not awful, rather like a typical Woody. But if any coaster in this park was going to give me a headache, it would probably be this one. But that's really just a compliment to the other coasters. I also loved the theming to Edgar Allan Poe. Number 3, Thunderbird. This ride was good. I had no qualms with it. I liked the launch, especially with it being the only launched V&M. I liked the interaction with Voyage and the terrain. Similar to Gatekeeper though, while I know that insane forces is not the point of wing coasters, I still wish it did a little more. Number 2, the Legend. I'm just gonna say it. This ride blew me away with how smooth it was. That retrack worked wonders. I'd heard in the past that the ride was pretty rough, and while I've ridden coasters that have gotten smoother after a retrack, I'd never ridden a coaster that was butter smooth after a retrack. So I was still bracing myself for a possible headache. But that thing was amazing. I love the tunnels and the head chopper interactions with some of the water slides and the ride supports. You guys know by now that I prefer airtime over laterals, and this thing was definitely stronger in laterals than airtime, but it was an absolute beast. I was not expecting to enjoy any wooden coaster that much, and I was kind of sad I didn't get a second ride since I had to leave. Also, the Headless Horseman theming was perfect. Number 1, the Voyage. This may be controversial, but Legend and Voyage were very close to me. I was pleasantly surprised by Legend, but I think I fell victim to expectation with Voyage. So many people had told me that it was incredibly smooth, but those are the same people who tell me El Toro is smooth, when more than one ride on Toro gives me a migraine. So I guess I had that expectation for Voyage. That being said, it wasn't unbearably rough. Rather a comfortable ruggedness for a wooden coaster. That thing, even though it was early in the morning, was flying, and it really delivered on the airtime. The terrain interaction was very impressive, and obviously, considering this wasn't Hollywood Nights, the trims were on. But it still flew through that second half, so I can only imagine how crazy this coaster is without trims. Overall, I'm so glad I was able to make it out to Holiday World. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and is more of a smaller park with a smaller ride collection compared to something like Cedar Point or even the bigger Six Flags parks. However, all 4 of those coasters are top tier and made the trip 100% worth it. Everyone I know who's been to this park preaches that they take such good care of their coasters, and I definitely have to jump on that bandwagon. The care Holiday World gives these rides really shows. I'm a little sad I only had a few hours here, but I would love to come back for a full day to explore the atmosphere of the park more, see some shows, get re-rides, and check out Splash and Safari. Thank you guys so much for watching my Holiday World review. It's been great hearing your guys' feedback on my previous videos from this trip too, so thank you for that as well. The next park I'll be reviewing is Kentucky Kingdom, so be sure to stay tuned for that in the near future. Until then, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.